Why is the world so divided? This is a question that has puzzled thinkers, leaders, and ordinary people for centuries. Despite advances in technology, communication, and globalization, our planet remains fractured, divided by borders, ideologies, cultures, and conflicts. So what causes these divisions? Why do nations, communities, and even individuals struggle to find unity? Today, we'll explore the many layers behind the world's divisions and how they shape the way we live. At its core, division arises from differences. Differences in beliefs, identities, resources, and power. Human beings naturally form groups based on shared languages, cultures, religions, and histories. These bonds create a sense of belonging, but they can also foster exclusion and conflict. When us and them mentalities develop, divisions harden. One of the oldest sources of division is geography. Throughout history, physical barriers such as mountains, rivers, and oceans shaped where people lived and how societies developed. Over time, these geographical separations solidified into political borders. Countries and states that define where one group's influence ends and another's begins. Borders often reflect the legacies of conquest, colonization, and war. Many current national boundaries were drawn arbitrarily by colonial powers without regard to ethnic, tribal, or cultural realities on the ground. This has led to deep tensions and disputes. For example, the borders of many African countries were imposed by European colonizers, grouping together rival ethnic groups or splitting communities across nations. Such arbitrary divisions have contributed to conflicts and instability that persist today. Beyond geography, cultural differences create powerful divides. Language, religion, customs, and values vary widely across the globe. These differences shape worldviews and influence how people see themselves and others. Religion, in particular, has been a source of both unity and division. Throughout history, religious beliefs have motivated cooperation, but also fueled wars, persecution, and intolerance. Political ideologies also create major divisions. The 20th century was marked by sharp ideological conflicts: capitalism versus communism, democracy versus authoritarianism, nationalism versus globalization. These divides often became proxy battlegrounds during the Cold War and continue to shape international relations today. Even within countries, political polarization can split societies, making governance and compromise difficult. Economic inequality is another significant factor in global division. The gap between rich and poor nations, and within societies themselves, feeds resentment and mistrust. Wealthy countries have more power and influence on the world stage, while poor nations struggle with poverty, lack of infrastructure, and limited opportunities. This economic disparity fuels migration, conflict, and competition for resources. Resource scarcity, such as access to water, arable land, and energy, can also drive divisions and conflict. As populations grow and climate change worsens, competition over these essentials is likely to increase, potentially leading to new tensions and wars. Media and communication, despite connecting people globally, can sometimes deepen divisions. The rise of social media and 24-hour news cycles has amplified tribalism and misinformation. Algorithms often create echo chambers where individuals see only views that reinforce their own beliefs. This polarization makes understanding and dialogue harder, both within countries and between them. Historical grievances and trauma shape long-standing conflicts. Centuries-old rivalries, colonial exploitation, genocide, and oppression leave scars that pass from generation to generation. Healing these wounds is a monumental challenge, especially when memories are politicized or manipulated by leaders. Identity politics plays a growing role in division. People increasingly define themselves by race, ethnicity, religion, or ideology, sometimes at the expense of broader unity. While it's natural to want recognition and rights for one's group, exclusive focus on identity can foster suspicion and hostility towards others. International organizations and agreements aim to reduce divisions by promoting cooperation on trade, security, human rights, and the environment. Yet, these institutions often struggle with competing national interests and lack of enforcement power. The rise of populism and nationalism has challenged the idea of global governance, pushing some countries to prioritize sovereignty over collective action. Education and economic opportunity are key to bridging divides. Where people have access to quality education and decent jobs, they are more likely to embrace diversity and collaborate. Conversely, lack of opportunity breeds frustration and fuels extremism. Technology offers both hope and risk. On one hand, advances in communication, artificial intelligence, and transportation have the potential to bring people closer and solve global problems. On the other hand, they can widen divides if benefits are unevenly shared or if technology is used to manipulate and control populations. In the face of these divisions, the question remains: how can the world move towards greater unity? The answer is complex and requires effort on multiple levels. Promoting dialogue, understanding, and empathy across cultures is essential. Leaders must work to address economic inequality and resource scarcity fairly. Education systems should teach critical thinking, tolerance, and global citizenship. Media platforms need to combat misinformation and encourage diverse perspectives. Conflict resolution and reconciliation processes must acknowledge historical wounds and seek restorative justice. International cooperation on climate change, health, and security must be strengthened to show that global challenges require global solutions. Ultimately, human beings share common desires: safety, dignity, opportunity, and connection. Recognizing our shared humanity, despite differences, is the foundation for overcoming division. The world's divisions are not fixed or inevitable. They are the product of history, politics, economics, and culture, all subject to change. While divisions will always exist to some degree, we have the power to shape whether they tear us apart or inspire us to build bridges. In conclusion, the world is divided because of complex, interwoven factors. Geographic boundaries shaped by history, cultural and religious differences, ideological conflicts, economic disparities, media influence, and identity politics. These forces create barriers between people and nations, but also offer opportunities for learning and growth. Understanding these causes is the first step towards a more peaceful, inclusive, and united world.